Welcome to lesson 34, where we are going to be discussing the remaining 3 stages in the decision-making process. Remember, in lesson 33, we spoke about the consumer decision-making process. We discussed buying situations. We also discussed the first 2 stages in the consumer decision-making process, which is problem recognition and search for information, as well as process of information. So now we are going to be looking at the evaluation of alternative products and services. We are going to look at the response or buying decision. We are going to discuss the post-buying evaluation or response. After discussing these 5 stages of consumer decision-making process, we are then going to unpack the marketing implication. So everything that we've discussed in lesson 33 and everything that we are going to discuss now in lesson 34, what are the marketing implications? So why are we talking about the consumer decision-making process in this subject? Why does it matter? That's what we are going to discuss at the end of this lesson. So we continue with the same terminologies, the same concepts for the lesson. We are going to be touching base on consumer decision-making. We're going to be talking about customer demand. We are going to be talking about behavior, self-concept, and attitude. There is a class activity there that you need to go through again, because this is always a stimulation for you to relate, to understand why these things matter in marketing. So as a consumer, do you always have option B when deciding which product to purchase? As I said, the good thing about understanding or discussing consumer behavior is that we are consumers ourselves. We are involved in these processes ourselves, despite being marketing academics, marketing practitioners. We also get involved in these decisions on a daily basis when we want to acquire something or when we want to use something. So you need to have a sort of a self-introspection and ask yourself, whenever you want something, do you always have an option B? So if you realize that you want to do laundry and you need to get washing powder, do you automatically have a brand for washing powder that you need? Or you are surrounded with many options that if I do not get sunlight, I am going to buy Ariel instead. Or if I do not get Omo, I am going to get Safe instead. So are you surrounded with options as a brand? And if you are surrounded with those options, are those options determined by money? Are those options determined by taste? So what I mean is that if you've got options, what is the role of your budget on those options? So if you want sunlight, and then you say, if I don't get sunlight, I'm going to get Omo. Would you consider getting Omo, considering that it's more expensive than sunlight? Or would you consider getting Omo, even if it is not aligned with your taste or your lifestyle? What about stock availability? So those are the things that I wish we could discuss if you were available in this class. Then we also need to understand from your perspective as a student, because you're a consumer, what makes you weigh in alternative products? So what is it that drives you to think about option B? What is it that drives you to think about other products when you are already loyal to the one that you are using at the moment? Will it be availability of stock? Will it be proximity to the shops? Will it be finances? So those are things that we need to discuss, and you realize that in some cases, as marketers, we need some customer insights to know how customers get involved in the decision-making process, so that when we are coming up with marketing strategies, so that when we are coming up with content production, it has to be tailored along what is on the customer's mind. So we are going to look at evaluation of alternative products. This is the third stage in the decision-making process of a consumer. After consumers have identified possible solutions to a problem, so this will be through your information search. The third step of consumer decision process is the evaluation of alternative solutions. This activity is called consumer evaluation. Product criteria or evaluative criteria are the basic standards consumers regard as being reasonable when engaging in problem resolution. Therefore, consumers buy products that match their personalities and to which they attach a positive inclination or attitude. However, the role of affordability can never ever be underestimated. So, when evaluating alternative products, consumers can be categorized into four. So you have got what we call an economic consumer. So this one is the one who is so price sensitive. Everything that he or she wants is economic, you know. You always think of the value, the monetary value that you're going to retain as a result of having this product. Then you've got passive consumers, those who just buy. You know, they don't question the quality, they don't question the price. So those are passive. Then you've got emotional consumer, you know, those who buy products because those products are emotionally attached to them, you know. I love Huggy brands because of X, Y, Z. You know, I do not like Pampers, so I'd prefer to have a Huggy brand. So it's something that is emotional for them. Then, of course, we've got the cognitive consumer. So this one is all about thoughts, what they have on their mind, you know. And once it is consuming your thoughts, you would think of getting it, you know. It has always been in my mind that I need a Lamborghini and I'm going to get one. So here it has got nothing to do with money, which is economic. It has got nothing to do with emotions, but something to do with this thing consuming my mind for a long time. So I realized that these categories cannot be assigned to different people. Sometimes these four categories can be assigned to the same individual, you know. For example, I've realized that I myself as a consumer, depending on the situation, depending on the time of the month, I can be economic, I can be passive, I can be emotional, and I can be cognitive. I realize that whenever it is month end and whenever I've got some bit in my pockets, you know, I become a passive consumer. So I don't think about prices. I don't think about it. I'm like, I'm going to get this because I've got something in my bank account. But when things are tough, that's when I become very economic. I don't buy things unnecessarily. Everything becomes a priority. I only buy those that are a must. So that's being economic. And there are also some stages when I'm emotional. For example, when I have to buy a kit for the team that I support, Manchester City, you know, this is an emotional purchase because this is a team that I want to associate myself with. This is a team that won a treble. So I want to have a t-shirt and I don't care whether it's expensive or not. So it's more emotional. Of course, there are also some times where the consumption of a product is more cognitive. I come across something and I start consuming it in my mind, telling myself that the moment I'm going to have money, I'm going to have it. So all these are part of the evaluation criteria that consumers go through whenever they are surrounded with options. And those options, of course, they get them from the information search, which is the previous step in consumer decision-making process. Then we've got post-buying evaluation. The post-buying response is the final stage in the consumer decision-making process, and a critical question from a marketing perspective is whether consumers are satisfied once they have bought and consumed a particular product. So here, remember in the beginning, you identified a problem. The first step is problem recognition. So you identified that you are hungry. Then we're involved in all these steps. And at the end of the day, you then need to ask yourself, am I now full? So you ask yourself, whatever that I decided to get, is it fulfilled its intended purpose? And marketers always want to know whether products, whether services satisfy consumers' needs. Post-buying learning means that after acquiring, consuming, and disposing of a product, consumers discover something about it and banks the added knowledge for future use or future decisions. So even if you'd be disappointed after using something, but now the more concern is on the future. You then think, am I going to use this in future or am I not going to use it? Especially if it worked well, you are going to consider using it again in future. But if it didn't work well, then chances are that you are not going to consider it when you are involved in another decision-making process. Post-buying outcomes can be both negative and positive. So we have got post-buying satisfaction. So here a positive assessment of the purchase decision results. Then we've got a post-buying dissatisfaction. Here is consumers encounter unhappiness when their experience with the product is not equal to their expectations. So I'm not going to spend much time on this one. It's very clear. You know, sometimes we make the right decisions, we buy the right product. Sometimes we think we're making the right decision, only to realize after consumption that this product does not actually perform its intended job. So sometimes consumers may experience post-buying conflicts where they are uncertain whether they made the correct purchase decision or should have bought some other alternatives. So once you have got something, you buy a car, you can still be confused, you know, thinking that what you got is not actually what you wanted to get. So this is called a post-buying conflict. And a post-buying conflict, just like any other conflict, can be addressed. So you have got videos to watch about post-purchase dissonance, as well as decision-making and attitude of millennials. So please go and have a look at that, as it contributes to consumer decision-making processes. So what are the marketing implications of everything that I've discussed so far from the previous lesson and this lesson? Why should we bother? Why should we care that consumers make decisions? Understanding how consumers engage in analysis and decision-making when undertaking purchases will enable brands to take advantage of the market opportunities, to target markets appropriately, and to design effective marketing strategies. So I mentioned this earlier. And to truly understand how to market, marketing practitioners must have a firm understanding of where consumers' thought process lies. Therefore, marketing materials should represent not just the basic steps of consumer choices, but play to the target's demographics, thoughts processes. There is always a need for continuous deeper understanding of consumer behavior and their buying strategies to empower marketing campaigns and be a success in the market. So if we are to communicate to our consumers as marketing departments, we actually need to know what their thoughts are. You know, we need to know whether you're talking to the right person or not. And we get these informations by understanding the processes and the steps that a consumer goes through when making decisions. So that's it about lesson 33 and 34. These lessons should have enabled you to reflect on and value the importance of post-buying evaluation. You must be able to illustrate the 5 stages in the consumer decision-making process, explain the difference between certification and dissatisfaction and cognitive dissonance. By now, you should be able to analyze the process that consumers undergo when engaging in decision-making and practically apply the 5 stages in the consumer decision-making processes. Finally, it is important to analyze the marketing implications of the consumer decision-making process. So that's all that I had for you tonight, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday as we go to Flume for a greet and meet session. I hope you are going to be there. If there are any questions and any comments or any housekeeping, please do not hesitate to contact me. Then next Wednesday, we should be looking at household decision making in chapter 3. So these lessons were based on individual consumers and how they make decisions. The next lesson will be looking at how households or families make decisions. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed these lessons since they are pre-recorded as there's no one in class. I hope you enjoy them, and should there be any queries, do not hesitate to contact me. Have a good night.